So, Marli, Sally, and Rona, congratulations on Our Ladies. I enjoyed this movie so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks. We're so glad to hear you enjoyed it.
I suppose my first question for you guys would be, can you talk me a little bit through the audition process and how big a factor was it kind of nailing that Scottish accent? Because Rona, I think that you are Scottish anyway, is that right? And then I was always also wondering from Marli's perspective, you know, the fact that your character had to sing as well, was there kind of a more of an extensive audition process in that regard? So for all three of you, I suppose.
Yeah, Marli's Scottish. I think it's just Sally in this call that's not Scottish. Marli's Scottish. But yeah, the audition process. So it was quite long. It was quite. I think we were saying on the other call that it seemed to be most young girls in Scotland, and actually not even Scotland. A few of my Irish friends went up for it as well, sort of Celtic people, and English, obviously, because Sally's English. But yeah, I think there was quite a lot of people that went up for it, and I think Michael wasn't quite sure what he wanted, and so there was kind of a lot of switching of parts. I originally went in for Sally's part, for Amanda, and then in the room swapped around, then read for various other parts, and then had a few recalls, a chemistry read, and then got offered it about a month or so later. But I think Michael for a while was working out the parts of the jigsaw puzzle in which people would fit together well on screen. So yeah, and you know, it's great to have a Scottish film. It's great to do my own accent. It's quite rare. I think I've only ever done my accent sort of 3 times professionally. It's all been sort of RP or American, really, the other stuff I've done. So it's really nice to use my own accent. Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite a long process. I found it was tapes, and then same as Rona, in for different parts. I think because Michael was trying to figure out who fit what, but that was quite fun actually, because you get to sort of see all the different characters as you went along. I was going to the Scottish accent thing. I didn't notice when we were improv, we sort of, even the ones of us who are Scottish, we would do this weird Scottish accent. I think it was a version of Michael's accent, and I don't know why, we just all started doing it. This, when you can't really hear us, the scenes where we're walking into rooms and we're just chatting away, we all started doing this really weird Scottish accent, which was, I think, a version of Michael's
Scottish accent, wasn't it? It was weird.
It was also a bit like Nicola, my hair and makeup artist, Nicola. She had a very broad Glaswegian accent, and I think I definitely was improving her accent all the time.
Yeah, I think also the accents were a lot more stronger than all of our own accents. They were specifically sort of Fort William Glaswegian-esque, so we were all a bit lighter than that.
We had a dialect coach as well, didn't we? Who kind of made sure we were all doing a similar kind of thing, because we're all from the same area.
That's interesting to hear, even that some of you were kind of going for different parts initially. How like the characters that you ended up playing do you think you're like in reality?
Ooh. I think, well, it was funny because we were talking about this in another interview the other day. I initially went in for Fanula, and when I read it, I was like, that is just me. And the other girls were like, that is not you at all. But then I went rereading it and reading Manda. I do think, there's parts that are definitely like me. And parts that there aren't. I think there's very exaggerated versions, but I think the way that we all fit into a group, I can kind of relate to. Do you know what I mean? The way that we all fit, the way the parts we play within the group, I think I can relate to the way that Manda is in that sense. But yeah, definitely not as bolshy.
I think there's always, I always feel there's a little bit of yourself that you put in the character anyway, or vice versa. I think it's important that happens. But I think I think I can relate. I know these girls from when I was younger. We grew up with them. So whether it's kind of reality of Oz or other people that we've taken it from, that we know, it's definitely real. It's not just fabricated characters. And also the book gave great insight into that. That it was the book's so in depth, and the script as well, but it made the characters really 3D. So I think it's from a lot of different places. You get it from yourself and from other people, and from the character itself as written on the page.
Absolutely. 100%.
Wish I was like Kyla. I think it's well cool.
You are.
I wish, but I think it's interesting too, because I think all of when we were going in for different parts too, I think if any of us had been cast differently, we'd have played it so differently, because obviously all of our approaches to different characters comes from like anything in ourselves that we see similar, or like as one route anyway, and then you like build on that. And I guess that's kind of like where Michael had like good insight into. He saw what we brought to each person and what he wanted that character to be. So we probably all have a bit of all of them in us, but Michael knew who suited what and who would bring out the best in each character, I think.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I was wondering, were there any kind of TV series or movies that you found as kind of a point of comparison to Our Ladies, or any that maybe you looked at? Because when I was talking to Eve and Tallulah there, Trainspotting came up actually.
I mean, the ones that always come up are Trainspotting and Dairy Girls.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Dairy Girls comparison, I think you can definitely kind of, draw comparisons there. It's just, they're all in school. It's a kind of Catholic school thing. But I think the main thing the comparison comes from is the sort of unfiltered nature that we all have. I didn't look at one film in particular, because I don't think there's anything like this with 6 young girls that's ever been a Scottish film. I think men are really different in the way they behave. So I didn't really look at Trainspotting so much, but I really took this as a completely new thing that I had never sort of come across before. I honestly can't compare it to anything, which maybe isn't a very good answer, but there's certainly definitely gritty films like Tyrannosaur and stuff. I find Peter Mullen's acting really, really helpful. I think that's proper sort of raw Scottish unfiltered acting. But as I say, I've never seen a film with 6 kind of Scottish young females ever. So, or TV series.
Michael gave us a reference, but I can't remember. Do you remember it was an Irish film about a band?
Yeah.
He told us to watch that.
No.
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I'm trying to... He kept giving us references to watch. I remember watching some Andrea Arnold stuff, which I really love anyway. But it was one 80s film. This is the thing, there was a few like kind of coming of age, but they're mainly groups of young men. And there was one, it's a really famous 80s film. It's like at the end of like they're all coming to the end of their college, and there's like a car chase, there's like they're racing cars and stuff.
Oh, George,
what's that one?
Directed it. I know what you mean. It's American Graffiti.
American Graffiti.
Yeah.
That's it. American Graffiti. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was mostly boys. The Irish one that Michael told us to watch was boys, and it was great to watch it with the tone of like the fun and stuff. But like none of them had girls.
Loads of stuff as well. Loads of like really old comedies like This Girl Friday, and like loads of black and white movies, because just for the timing, because there's a lot of like really witty dialogue that we've got as a group. And Michael's like really, he's a massive film fanatic anyway, but he'd be spending ages like showing us clips of these old black and white movies and the way that they were filmed. And I think he kind of took a lot of inspiration from kind of like, the one camera setup, and then just watching, I don't know, it kind of like, he was kind of very interested in those kind of setups and how we'd bounce off each other with the dialogue, because it was all about timing. A lot of the scenes were, us just being really quick-witted and kind of like jumping on each other's lines and stuff. So we had to get the timing really impeccable. So those old films really helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I was watching it, and again, it's annoying because they're male-led films, but I was thinking of like Richard Linklater, like something like Dazed and Confused or Everybody Wants Some, those films that just follow like kind of this group of guy friends kind of just hanging out and, having the time of their lives with one another. And Lady Bird, I suppose, and Dairy Girls, of course, is probably another kind of comparison. But I mean, it is different to Dairy Girls as well at the same time, because, these girls are that bit more older. And another thing that struck me was just how sexually liberated they are. I just thought that was so brilliant, because obviously it's something so rare to see in a 90s set film, but actually it's something we see so rarely as a contemporary audience anyway. So I was wondering kind of what are your thoughts on that aspect of the movie?
Stunned to silence.
It's because we're talking about sex.
Yeah, no, definitely. We were kind of just saying this previously, that adolescence is something everyone goes through, and it's a really hard time of life being a teenager, and it can be, have its trials and tribulations. But I think what these girls do is they don't apologize for doing that. And I think I was definitely a lot more polite when I was younger, and it was like, oh, like, God, sex. But these girls are so rough and ready and raw, which is just amazing. And I think you kind of love them for that, that it's just completely, as I was saying earlier, like completely unfiltered. And, essentially the film is about friendship, and that should never be taken for granted. And when they're all there for each other when they're going through these crazy times, some more sexually liberated than others. My character, for example, is super out there, whereas Tallulah's character, Orla, is maybe, experiencing it for the first time. So it's nice to see those different journeys at different points in the film and how they deal with it, I think.
And for yourselves?
And nice being the the love interest and the sexual scenes were kind of like through the female's perspective, and the men were kind of the love interests, rather than the usual of the woman just being the sex object or the bit part, which I found really liberating and kind of quite rare, I think, to see.
Yeah, and so many films, like especially films about teenagers, like the boys will be like, oh yeah, I had sex with so and so, and it's like well done him, and the girls are like slut. Sorry, really funny noise. But like in this one, the girls are all like trying to one up each other and brag about like their conquest, and I think like that's great, because then it's anything moving away from slut shaming is really important and realistic to like when I was a teenager. Even if like I wasn't very good at getting sex, like you talk about it all the time, like you do, like especially when you're not having sex yet, you're like, it's just such a big thing, and you can't like, it's not like that's all you want to talk about, and it's quite realistic, I think.
Right. We'll have to leave it there. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I could talk to you girls all day, and I love this movie so much. So all I can say is just congratulations again, and thanks so much for taking the time out to speak to me today, and I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
Oh, thank you. That's super kind of you. Thank you
very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It was an innocent time. Back in the days when anything was possible.
That's beautiful.
What a day. It's not often you get what you pray for, is it?
Fresh meat, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock.